Hey everyone, I'm back. Welcome to another video. Thanks for tuning in. Before we get started, if you could subscribe, push the like, all that stuff, share the videos. I've been so grateful for all of your feedback and support and love. I am just floored by all of your support, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. So, last video was a bit of a heavy topic, so I thought I'd lighten the mood and do a little bit of a less harsh topic, and thought I'd talk about the psych ward. What? It's not a lighter topic? That's all I have. You guys can handle it. You guys can handle it. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the psych ward. I'm going to talk about my first experience in a psych ward. I am going to be bouncing around because my first experience of a psych ward was after my first experience with an eating disorder treatment center, inpatient. But today I just really wanted to talk about my first experience. And for the sake of this video, I'm not going to be saying any specific names of any facilities. If you guys want to message me in private, I would be happy to answer any of your questions, any details you want to know. I would be happy to answer them. It was never my choice to do any treatment. It wasn't until actually this year that I chose to do treatment. And because I chose to do treatment, I feel like I was getting the most out of it. I let people help me, and so it was beneficial. All those years in the past of being forced into treatment or too sick to make the choices for myself, I was very stubborn and I did the opposite. I was like, oh, you want to help me? No, I'm gonna run away. So when I first went to a psych ward, I didn't know what to expect. I had overdosed, and so I was sent by ambulance to the hospital to first get, I had to have IVs. I kind of had to get medically stable. And then I was placed in a holding cell, and I just remember it just being so cold. I was so confused, and they took away, you know, all of your belongings, all your phone and everything. And I just remember like I didn't want to call anyone anyways because I was so embarrassed and also upset that I didn't complete what I intended to do, meaning I was still alive, so I didn't accomplish what I wanted. And so that was just another thing to tack on. I can't even kill myself. I'm bad at killing myself. Anyways, I was in this holding cell and there was just a TV, and I just remember waiting hours and hours, refusing all food. Normally when I go into psych wards, I completely refuse all food because you can. And this, I'll speak about this in another video, the benefits of an eating disorder treatment and then depression treatment. There's not much in Minnesota that handles or deals or treats eating disorders and extreme depression or suicidal ideation. If you have suicidal thoughts, you go to the psych ward. They're really bad at handling people with eating disorders. So I got to work out, I got to restrict. I was in a safe place, yes, but my eating disorder got extremely, extremely bad. And that's usually what happened throughout the years is I helped one thing, I helped my depression, my eating disorder got worse. I was working on my eating disorder, my depression got worse. And it was this teeter-totter throughout the years. And so I was in the psych ward, they admitted me, and my depression was really, really, really deep. They didn't know exactly how to handle me because my eating disorder was I was really weak and malnourished, but they didn't know how to kind of make me eat there. I was just refusing everything. Sometimes I just stayed in my room. Honestly, all of the years before the last couple were just kind of a fog. So I'm not going to say specific dates and years. I know approximately what time period it was, but honestly, everything was just a fog. Everything was just a blur. And also, after my husband's suicide, that was a whole new realm of fog. And so I was in there for weeks. I was just getting more and more depressed. And so they recommended ECT. ECT stands for Electric Shock Therapy. And I don't talk about this very often because this was a very, very traumatic time in my life. Not everyone qualifies to get ECT treatment. They do a lot of pre-screening, a lot of tests. They figured it was the right step for me because my depression felt so heavy. It was, honestly, the doctors thought it was the last resort. Honestly, I don't remember even like caring. You know, I'm willing to do anything. And like I said, I was at a point where I wanted to end my life. But at the same time, a little nugget of me was still trying to hold on to hope and kind of thinking, well, things can't get any worse. So try whatever medicine you want, try whatever treatments that you want, and who cares? If it works, great. If it doesn't, I feel like I couldn't get any worse. So I remained inpatient for these electric shock therapy treatments. I believe I had 5 or 6 sessions of some sort. Again, I don't even know. ECT, oh, this is my experience, okay? It is very, very harsh, very extreme. And I remember that when I was done with the treatment for the day, they wheelchair you up to go back into the psych ward. I didn't remember how I got there. I didn't recognize many people. I didn't know how long I was there. All my short-term memory was just zapped. I remember after a couple of treatments, it did help my depression, but I wasn't really thinking much of anything. I was just a blank slate. Very deadpan. Didn't really feel a lot of emotions. It zapped any emotion. It zapped my depression away for a little bit, but then it zapped any other excitement or joy or whatever else I had in me. It did help very short term, but it was very traumatizing, especially when my husband brought me home and I didn't recognize the decorations that I put up. I was just asking so many questions. When did we get this and that? And he's like, you decorated that. We got that for a wedding. That really scarred him, and that I think was the start of when Josh really, really saw that my illness was very serious. I think he saw the extent of the darkness. So it was really traumatizing. I wouldn't recommend it, but again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just talking from my experience. I think the psych ward has a lot of great qualities that I wish eating disorder treatments would incorporate. It just doesn't seem like both places knew how to treat everybody, you know? Unfortunately, with eating disorders, you don't just have an eating disorder. You most always struggle with something else, whether it's depression, anxiety, OCD, some sort of trauma, some sort of past stressor. That's what was so frustrating with my treatment, is when I went into the psych ward, they kind of looked at people with eating disorders as kind of like these aliens. They didn't know what to do with us, and I took advantage of restricting. I took advantage there's a little workout machine in there. I took advantage of that just to like kill myself faster. It's funny because they saw me on working out and they're like, oh, her depression must be getting better. She's working out. No, my eating disorder is getting worse, which is making my depression worse. You know, it's frustrating in that aspect. I think I will talk in another video about finding the perfect treatment and how it's just not out there. It's what you put into it. Going back to the psych ward experience, the ways that it did help me was the kinds of groups that they had that eating disorder residential places didn't have. They had medication management. They had more classes that educated you on your diagnoses, coping skills. There was more freedom in a way, even though you were still locked away and you still couldn't go outside, which I think that's an extremely important part of recovery, is nature and fresh air. I'll talk about my eating disorder treatment experience and how that was always brought up. I always brought that up and I wanted to make that a change. So anyways, in the psych ward, they just had more freedom. I mean, I could walk around in the unit when I was really, really sick. The way that my eating disorder treatment handled things was they kept me in my room. They kept taking away things. The less I complied, the more... JJ, are you wrecking my set? You're not letting me film? What's the matter with you? Anyways, sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, so they kept taking away things if I didn't comply. And I remember I wanted to punish myself, so it was almost like, yeah, punish me, bring it on. Anyways, that didn't help at all my situation. But going back to the psych ward, they let you kind of go to groups no matter what. I could skip my meal and still go to groups, whereas the eating disorder treatment, if I skipped my meal, I was done with everything that day. No groups, no nothing. In a sense, the psych ward was really, really great for that. And you know, I say this every time, but you meet the best people in psych wards. Like, no, I'm serious. They are just so vulnerable. They already know that you're depressed, so there's nothing to hide. There's no pretending. They're just so honest and genuine. And so I always met the coolest people in psych wards, and I, you know, always got their numbers, and some of them to this day I keep in contact, and so that was really cool. They always, the other thing about psych wards, they always give these little notebooks. I'm going to show a couple, and it's just those thin little notebooks, you know, and I cover them with duct tape just to make them, see, there's my name. I cover them with duct tape to make them pretty, but here's dogs on the back of this one. But these were my journals for the psych ward, and I will go through some in another video. And this is where I started my gratitude journal. In another video, I'll read some poems for you I wrote in after my husband died. I'll put those in another video. I think that I'll stop there. Overall, I just wanted to kind of tell my experience about being in a psych ward with an eating disorder and how that's helpful, how that's not. I have so many ideas of how they could improve their programs and how residential could incorporate more depression therapy in their program, so that when someone with an eating disorder has suicidal thoughts, they don't have to panic. You know, I feel like, yes, you should take those words very seriously, but if you do have to send them in a psych ward, I think psych wards need to know what to do with people with eating disorders so that they don't freely restrict and exercise like you can now. So I think I'll end it there. Sorry this wasn't a lighter topic. Sorry, not sorry. I'll put my email in the description so that if you guys want to ask specific questions or just more details, feel free to ask me anything, message me, comment below with any questions. Keep your love coming. I really appreciate it again. I hope that you all have a safe, healthy day. Remember, don't forget your self-care and your self-love, and trade your expectations for appreciations. Love you all.